Perfect. Thank you, Carlos. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, on my behalf as well for joining the webinar. Much appreciate your time. Know everybody is busy and all that. So let's get right to it. It's already way past the hour. Okay, first of all, questions. So let's try to make this as interactive as possible. With me, I have Mikko, and Mikko will be answering the questions online. So use the questions board in your GoToMeeting control panel, right, Mikko?
Absolutely, yeah. Shoot me with the questions, make me busy.
Exactly. And the Open Reality guys will be answering the sales-related questions. Mikko will be handling the technical ones. So whether you are existing user of the product, have something on your mind, that's something that comes up, or you're new to the product, want to know how it works, want to know all the bells and whistles, how it compares to competition, whatever, just let us know. Try to make this as interactive as possible, and maybe we can also live answer some of the most basic questions.
Exactly. I'll be presenting you some of the most popular and best questions you live.
Okay, cool. And let's say to the most active audience member or members, we could send some Ekahau swag, right?
Oh,
our marketing always hates us when we do that.
No, they love us.
Yeah, exactly. It's a love-hate relationship. They hate us, we love them. All right. Anyways, with that, thank you, Open Reality, for setting things up again today. It's always great to be on a webinar with you. It's somehow, there's such a long relationship, there's such a long history. We just love you guys. And yeah, thanks for hosting us. We were there just a month or two ago with Mikko. That was a great trip as well. So look forward to seeing you guys live soon again as well. Okay, again, this webinar will be recorded. This is just a reminder so that Carlos remembers to push the button, but I think you already have, right?
All right. Absolutely.
Cool, thanks, Carlos. And you will be sending to all the registrants the recording, right? Later on. Maybe.
It's going to be part of the follow-up email for both those that attend and those that don't.
Perfect. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Talk about 5 essential tips for high-performance Wi-Fi, and then we're going to do a quick demo on how to take some of these tips into practice. So just a quick Wi-Fi design demo using our product. And then, of course, in many cases, the Q&A is the best part of the webinar, so we'll reserve some time for that as well. We should be done in roughly 60 minutes. The reason we are really here today is that, we design and deploy good Wi-Fi networks and not something like this, right? So what is wrong? This is a question to the audience. What is wrong with this Wi-Fi installation? Or actually this one, same thing, right? Anybody? You can write the answers on the questions board, for example. Just so that we get
or the chat board.
Or the chat board, whichever one. Paul says everything is wrong with that. That's a pretty good answer. Okay, yeah. Yeah, metal limits RF. Thank you, Phil. Metal attenuation, Hamad. Okay, so perfect. We have the questions board working. We have an active audience. Perfect. So what is going on here? Isn't this how you hide an SSID, right? This picture, right behind the metal shelf. Perfect place to hide your SSID. Or this one, where you put 3 panel antennas, 1 into each radio chain connector. Not sure about that either. And then there's this guy. What is this? I mean, looks like it's a healthcare AP because somebody tucked the AP into bed or something. Either way, very flexible, cool mounting options. And then there's this guy, no radiation AP, 100% radiation free. And just one more I got from Scott Stapleton, an old friend we just saw in Netherlands while there with Mikko. This just in from Scott. Not a bad installation, that one either. We have actually a few of those at our office too. Not with a chair, but
we should do.
All right. So again, who's on the line? I'm Jussi. I'm VP, kind of janitorial guy, do a little bit of everything here at Ekahau, and with me I have Mikko.
Hey guys, so yeah, product line manager for ESS and all the whole tools been at Ekahau since 2005, yeah, 11 years.
11
Oh,
years.
no.
Nice, nice.
It's pretty nice here.
Yeah, yeah, you
Doing
like it?
interesting stuff, yes. I love you.
It's like a life sentence, isn't it?
Exactly.
You don't get to choose your inmates. So I've been here since I was this small, and Mikko has been here since he was this small, right?
What is that? Where did you get that one?
It's a picture, old picture from a corporate party back in 05.
I wonder why I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know. Mind tends to do that, you know. All the traumatic memories, they just disappear.
Too much of water.
Yeah, exactly, too much water. All right, for those of you not on Twitter, you should be there. Follow the Wi-Fi folks, get the latest Wi-Fi news from there first. And this is not just that we use it as a sales channel, it is actually the most useful source of Wi-Fi based information. So if you're not on Twitter, go there. Also, this couple of words about the company. We're already far ahead or way past the hour, so you know, we are an international company. We operate in all the continents. You know, we work with a lot of distributors. In the UK, we only work with Open Reality. We're a privately held company, da-di-da-di-da. That's good enough. For those of you who know Ekahau from the past, we have a history behind us where we used to do two things. We used to do Wi-Fi design tools and location tracking systems. So the location tracking systems has been sold off to another company. So today Ekahau is only 100% focused in making Wi-Fi site survey planning, Wi-Fi design deployment tools. So that's enough of the corporate slides. It's good for, okay. Then we have the, oh, there's a download address. I seem to have copy-pasted these from previous slides. Never mind the download address, that's in there. There you can find our tools, by the way, but without the license, they won't be too useful. Anyways, this is what happens when you copy-paste something the last minute, right? Lesson learned. Anyway, so for this whole Wi-Fi network design lifecycle, we have a few products. Our flagship product that runs on Windows and Mac. Did I say Mac? No.
I didn't hear anything.
Me neither. Anyway, runs on laptops for planning, validation, troubleshooting. Then we have a spectrum analyzer that nicely integrates with that tool, the laptop-based tool as well. Also has a standalone analysis application. And then we have the mobile survey Android application for, like, you know, easy, lightweight troubleshooting of Wi-Fi from the client device perspective. We have tons of free online training material at ekahau.com/training. We have one-to-one webinars. If you're, for example, using a competing product and want to learn ours, just let us know, and we'll have one of our technical engineers, you know, give you a one-to-one webinar, see how it works. Then we have the Ekahau Certified Survey Engineer courses, hosted mostly by Keith Parsons, Devin Aiken, two of the leading figures in Wi-Fi design deployment industry. And we have several still. We will have a slide about that later on. The guys will show you the dates for UK at the end. But we have several sold out already this year in the UK, but we have several coming as well. These are, you know, if you want a great Wi-Fi course by the industry's most knowledgeable, most charismatic teachers, this is really the way to go. All right. So, and if you want to learn more Wi-Fi, of course, there's way to do that. Okay. So tip number one. On to the actual show. Tip number one: pay attention to Wi-Fi design. Right. So what do I mean by this? In general, you should, you know, put some effort into designing your Wi-Fi networks. I mean, if it's like this, if you don't really care about gathering the requirements from the end users or designing the networks or validating it, you will end up in this vicious circle of endless troubleshooting. But then, if you put some time, some effort into requirements definition and planning and all those things, you won't be troubleshooting almost at all. When you will be troubleshooting, if you have a well-designed Wi-Fi network, pretty much the only troubleshooting, or 90% of the troubleshooting you will do, is client-based problems. So client drivers, client incompatibility issues, things like that, or misconfiguration, missing security settings, things like that. So I would definitely go for the right-hand side approach. Not that, you know, I am biased or anything, given that we sell tools for that purpose, but still, I actually did a study. I interviewed 20 Wi-Fi administrators last year, and yeah, they all came to the same conclusion. So if they know they have designed the Wi-Fi network and they have designed it well, then, you know, it's pretty certainly that it's low maintenance, and when it's maintenance, it's client device problem. And modern Wi-Fi infrastructure like Cisco, Aruba, Ruckus, they have excellent tools for troubleshooting clients even from the console without necessarily going on site. All right. So just before we move to the next tips, just some background information. So setting up a high-capacity Wi-Fi network is kind of like setting up a bar, really. So what do I mean by this? Well, short analogy is this. So whereas in a bar you have bartenders and clients and beer and wine, in Wi-Fi network you have APs and then client devices, right? Different kinds. And whereas the goal of a bartender is to get the wine from the bottle to the glasses of the customers, the goal of a Wi-Fi network is to get data transmitted between the APs and the clients. So it's pretty similar stuff, actually, that you now that you think of it. And the common thing between the two is you wouldn't set up a bar. You wouldn't start a bar without, you know, thinking about it first, kind of making business plans, making floor plans, making, you know, deciding where the counters are, how many bartenders you will have, what kind of number of customers you will be estimating to come in, things like that. Same with Wi-Fi network. So as discussed, plan first, figure out the requirements. And obviously, it's easier to make a bar work just like a Wi-Fi network when it's not high capacity. If you only have a couple of customers, you know, just set up an AP and there you go. But this is what we mean by high capacity. So lots of APs, tons of client devices, and high demand for data. So whether a bar or a Wi-Fi network, this is when you need to kind of start thinking about it. Another aspect of where you need to start thinking about the Wi-Fi network is how mission critical its operation is to you. I mean, if it's like, okay, I'll provide it as an additional physical layer, then, you know, maybe not as much design planning effort is necessary, especially with low client volumes. But the more mission critical the network, the more you need to take care of it. All right, and outside of the scope of this presentation is wired Ethernet, obviously. Which leads us to tip number 2. So you want to achieve high data rates, which means you want to get the client devices on and off the network very quickly. And what do we mean by this? So let's take the bar again. It's important, first of all, the requirement is that the clients need to be able to enter the network, so authenticate and associate. If they are in that corner, it's not very likely that they will be getting beer from the bar. But if you go closer to the bartender, you have high signal strength because you're close to the AP. Of course, still you need to authenticate or show your ID, but then you're pretty much good to go. And speaking of authentication and getting into the network, if you have a public space, obviously you do want to get all of those client devices into the network. You want to encourage the client devices to get into the network because associated clients are better than probing clients. All right, so the reason we want high data rate is this. Just like a bartender in a bar serves one customer at a time. So take in the order, fix the drinks, do the payment, hand over the drinks. It's one operation. Same with Wi-Fi. If you have APs, an AP operating on a single channel, only one device is talking at a time. Let's say one AP, 10 or 20 client devices. Only one of those guys is talking at a time. It might be an AP serving one of the client devices, or it might be one of the client devices talking to the AP. But one device is talking at any given time. And the faster you can make them talk, the faster the transaction will be over, the faster the next client will be served. Okay? And that's why high data rates are so vital. Because how long the transaction is, let's say, payment of the drink, fixing the drink and getting it back, that's all about the data rate. So the higher the data rate, the more transmissions per second. And of course, data rate mostly depends on signal strength and signal to noise ratio. All right, so some of the contributors to a low data rate or low, let's say, performance in a bar. First of all, noise level. In Wi-Fi world, this would be microwave ovens, Bluetooth, wireless video cameras. Channel interference. So interference in a bar, but channel interference with Wi-Fi. Let's say one of the biggest contributors, or the biggest contributor actually often in enterprise Wi-Fi, is your own APs interfering with your own APs. It's not the neighbor APs, it's your own APs. And of course, low client capabilities. So if you have very old client devices, they will not be either able to access the network or they will slow down everybody's network performance. We'll talk more about that later. So with that in mind, why is this guy unhappy? Anybody? Why does this guy look kind of sad and anxious? No service. Exactly. Thank you, Robert. Perfect answer. And why no service? Too far away, says Glenn. Bartender ignoring him, says Barry. Thank you. Exactly. So these folks here, observe the folks in here, in this region. They look very happy because they have the high data rates, right? Because they have high signal strength. They are very close to the bartenders. Now these folks here, while having fun, they create a lot of noise and channel interference, and thus this guy has very low signal strength because the bartenders are far away, and also very low signal to noise ratio, right? Okay, so tip number 3, we touched this really quickly already. All Wi-Fi clients are not equal. What do we mean by that? So first of all, not everybody should be even let into your network. Just like you wouldn't let just anybody into a bar, let's say kids after, in the nighttime, or intoxicated adults. Similarly, you would not let low performance clients, legacy clients into your network. So if you haven't already, do check that you have disabled all the low data rates that you can from your network. So we call this guy so very 802.11b. Don't let him into your network. It's because these guys that are operating on low data rates, it's like these guys who pay the drinks with pennies. They just slow down the experience for everyone because everybody else needs to wait for their turn to order the drinks, to pay for the drinks. So just get rid of them. Okay, so here's the deal. There's differences in the performance of the client devices as well. And what do we have here? Why do I have 3 glasses on the first picture and just 1 glass on the second picture? Anybody? What could this mean? 3 glasses being the laptop, 1 glass being the smartphone, for example. Diversity, very close. Yes, MIMO, multiple streams. Exactly, 3 streams on the laptop, 1 stream on the mobile phone, or maybe a tablet even. So this has to say that when you're, for example, calculating the capacity of and preparing for the capacity of your Wi-Fi network, bear in mind that mobile phones, for example, are slower often in terms of, or lower in terms of performance. They have low efficiency for the data transfer. Even though they are 802.11ac and all that, they may just support, for example, 1 spatial stream because they might have just 1 radio chain. Whereas some of the laptops have 3 spatial streams. They can get their drinks, 3 times as fast. So bear this in mind with your capacity planning. Okay. On the bright side, though, not all the clients are transmitting high definition YouTube content all the time, right? This is, guys, again, the AP. This client device, for example, clearly is idle and processing the data. This woman is working on data that has been already transmitted to him as well. And there's clearly somebody trying to sniff the other client's data as well. So what I'm saying is, when you're doing these capacity calculations, do take into account that most of the client devices are idle most of the time. So even though it's a possibility that your customers will be using YouTube high definition 4K video, it's not that it happens 24/7. All right. Tip number 4, maximize spectrum usage, minimize overhead. What I'm trying to say is, in a bar, adding more bartenders doesn't always help, and it's the same with Wi-Fi, especially with 2.4 GHz frequency space. Luckily, that's getting more and more dealt with by, just utilizing 5 GHz more and more. But 2.4 GHz frequency space is kind of like using clumsy bartenders, and some of the client devices still tend to associate to the lower 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi band, and it doesn't really help to add more Wi-Fi access points on 2.4 GHz in hopes to increase the capacity of the network. It just doesn't, because you have one clumsy bartender there behind the bar, and no matter how many more clumsy bartenders you have, they will just start interfering with one another. It doesn't actually help. So forcing the clients on 5 GHz and using even only 5 GHz Wi-Fi or 5 GHz wherever you can, that's like adding those fast bartenders throughout the bar. They don't interfere with one another, gives you much better performance overall. Also important for spectrum allocation, channel management, reduce channel overlap by strategic AP placement. So what is wrong with this picture here on the left? Anybody? CCI. Thank you, Robert. So, but what is causing the CCI or co-channel interference in this picture? Why are the access points interfering with other access points in this picture? APs in corridors. Thank you, Paul. Exactly. So the access points are located in the corridors, so many of the APs can hear the other APs very well, causing co-channel interference, which is not good. So now instead of that one bartender, you have two clumsy bartenders stumbling on one another. So not very good. APs in hallways, lots of interference. So whenever you can, place the APs in rooms and avoid co-channel interference. Of course, that requires channel planning and all that as well, but still. All right. In Wi-Fi, however, there will always be some overhead, just like in a bar. No matter how much you optimize it, somebody will always be waiting for their turn. The bartenders will be mixing the drinks. Customers will need to be paying for the drinks, even if you optimize the payment process. And there's just good behavior that both Wi-Fi and bar goers need to obey. Which leads us to complex drinks. So the more complex the drinks in a bar, the more time it takes to serve the customers. So complex drinks are kind of like extra SSIDs in a Wi-Fi network. Remember those times when one AP was blasting 8 or 16 SSIDs even in an airport to serve all the network operators and whatnot? Don't do that. The point being, and I'm sure everybody knows this already, but just minimize the number of SSIDs you're using to free up the airtime for the actual data transmission. All right, last tip. Tip number 5, to get to high capacity, you should be doing some math exercises. Okay, so how do we calculate capacity in a Wi-Fi network? We already touched some of these points. So number of clients, very essential. Distribution of the clients, where are they located? Are the customers drinking beer, wine, or shots, meaning which kind of applications are the, and which kind of data transmission requirements do the customers have? And then, of course, as discussed, the types of clients, like one spatial stream, 3D spatial stream, AC, N, AVG, all that. So let's look at that in a bit more detail. Number of thirsty people. So this is the most significant thing. How many client devices and what types? So this is a screen capture from our tool, so you can define, what type of client devices will be in the network, what types of client devices, things like that. All right. That's pretty simple stuff. Then, how thirsty are the customers? So what are they drinking? In other words, what applications are being used by the Wi-Fi devices? And this is again a screen capture of our tool. This is how you kind of configure the different characteristics or the different applications and how long are they used in a given workday. So for example, an email client in this picture is on all throughout the workday, chat application some of the time, web browsing for 3 hours, voice calls for 1 hour, things like that. All right, then you have a couple of ways to calculate the need for capacity. On the left is the Excel-based tools and calculators, most notably the Revolution Wi-Fi capacity calculator. If I got $1 every time I mentioned Revolution Wi-Fi, either the blog or the capacity calculator, I would be a rich man. Kudos to Andrew von Nash for making an excellent Excel-based calculator. So it basically what happens is it's an Excel macro-based thing where you put in your requirements for the network and it spits out the required number of APs. And that's kind of how our capacity planner works in Ekahau site survey as well. So you put in, as you saw, the requirements for the capacity, but then instead of spitting out just the number of APs, it also places them on the map for you. Many people like to use both, so kind of use the Excel-based calculator as a sanity check for the Ekahau Site Survey Pro capacity planner. And then there's different kind of processes for designing deploying high capacity Wi-Fi. Just like there's a process for setting up the bar. So start with the business needs, move to technical requirements, set up the infrastructure, or figure out the infrastructure need, actually. Do a predictive design, which we will look at in the demo in a second. Then deploy the actual thing, so build the bar or set up the network. And then, which is important, is you verify the actual network. So there's no way around it. If you don't do an RF walkthrough site survey in your site, how do you really know your Wi-Fi network's going to work? There's no way. And then, of course, there's some maintenance operations as well. So quick summary before we move into the demo. First of all, maximize the airtime to get to high capacity. So 5 GHz, minimize the code channel interference, minimize number of SSIDs, and related to that, ensure high data rates. So, the lower the noise, the higher the signal strength, and do perform a site survey to make sure that you're actually meeting these, and then do some capacity calculations as well, as just discussed. So that's the presentation part. We still have a few minutes for a demo before we start the Q&A. So let's look at a quick Wi-Fi design demo. Let me change the presenter here to my other computer. Or should we? Here we go. Now, which computer should we use, Mikko?
Sorry.
For the demo? you want to be safe, or you want to?
Yeah, so it's your crappy old Windows machine or your brand new MacBook, and the slightly unstable ESS was right. So exactly. Which one do I choose? I want to live dangerously. Let's go with the Mac version.
Okay, let's go with the Mac version. So, sounds okay to me. Just gonna share the screen, then the other screen on this machine, main screen. You should be able to see that now, I hope. All right, here we go. So again, we're doing the native map version, so fingers crossed that everything goes fairly smoothly. What I'm going to do is, yeah, let's do a quick Wi-Fi design exercise. Some of you may have seen this already, but let's do it still. Okay, I'm just going to hide this guy. What we're going to do is we're going to design a Wi-Fi network real quickly using the latest Ekahau site survey tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a single map and then make a design off of that. All right. Here we go. So which map should we bring in? Just going to browse through a CAD drawing as the background map. And of course you can bring in multiple maps for multi-floor and things like that. And the tool also supports full 3D, like, you know, in a warehouse you can put the APs high and use up tilt, down tilt, all that fun stuff. Yes, me.
Surprisingly, someone is asking when are we going to release the Mac version. So what should we say?
Yeah, we just discussed this week, didn't we?
We sure did.
You're the product manager, right? So this is your call, man.
What? When did that happen?
You're not? Oh, sure. Who did I invite to this webinar?
Oh man. So yeah, the R&D promise is it should be ready by the end of June, actually.
Okay, very good. And that's the beta version of that.
Yeah, we're going to release officially release it as a beta version.
Yeah, but it will be kind of official beta available for all.
Exactly. So
see how it works. You know, get a feel for it. It's already pretty stable, and it will have all the features for, you know, planning, analysis, and reporting. And site surveying will work as well, but just the adapter support will be different from what we have today. So that's the beta, right? Isn't that the nice way to?
Indeed. And Paul Morris, I expect that you tweet about it immediately.
Very good. So here we have the floor plan, and what we want to do is figure out the walls of the building first. So on the left we have the layers, and we're going to associate them with Wi-Fi absorbing materials. Just the main layers like elevator shafts and you know, exterior walls. We're going to say that's a brick wall. Things like that. And as you saw, the scale on the right-hand side, lower right-hand side corner also comes automatically when using CAD drawings. So now's the time to start asking CAD drawings from your customers. Many of our customers are actually doing it so that if they don't get CAD drawings from their customers, they will charge them to twice or 3 times as much for the predictive design of the network. So that's some motivation for the customers to hand out the CAD drawings right there. So now we have assigned a few wall layers on the left with some wall types, and then we'll just hit import. This is, you know, not required, of course. Of course, you can draw the walls manually or edit them after, things like that. But this is just a step that can be done for CAD drawings. Makes obviously the wall drawing quite a lot faster. And this is not your standard everyday wall import from CAD. It's actually pretty smart. So it simplifies the drawing, closes the doors, removes the unnecessary blocks of walls and things like that. So it kind of tries to understand the entire building while it does it. All right. So here's the end result. So we actually have all the walls brought in, all the doors brought in and closed, elevator shafts and everything, and we're ready to start the Wi-Fi design process. Two different methods that we can use. We can do it manually, or we can leave it to the auto planner. Let's do it manually first. So what I'm going to do is, just because I love this new Cisco APs, I'm going to take the Cisco 3800s operating. Notice there's 2 different versions, the 2.4 plus 5 GHz and the dual 5 as well. And this is the same AP, right? Cisco just has a way to assigning the 2.4 GHz radio as a secondary micro cell 5 GHz radio. But I'm going to use 2, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to start placing the APs on the floor plan. And as you can see, the coverage is far from circular, obviously, with these APs. And that's because we have brought in the walls and all that. So we start filling in the blanks. Now I put an AP on the hallway, so I'm practicing what I preach actually. And now we're looking at both, whichever signal is stronger, 2.4 or 5, observe here. So I'm going to uncheck 2.4 just because I'm designing maybe for 5 GHz. Place a few more APs here and there. So that's the basic coverage planning. But then to do channel planning, I think we need to visualize the channel overlap. So I'm going to take, instead of signal strength, we're going to look at channel overlap. And we can see that, yeah, there's actually quite a bit channel overlap. And what's smart about the tool is when you move the mouse over any location on the map, you can see which APs are actually interfering with one another. So I'm going to enable 2.4 so we get an understanding of both channel interference both on 2.4 and 5 GHz. So here we can see that, for example, in this location, we have 3 APs on channel 1 audible and 3 APs on channel 36. And that's because we haven't reassigned the channels. Of course, this can be left to RRM or ARM, any automatic radio assignment system. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate that in ESS by using the channel planner. So clicking the channel planner tool and just optimizing both 2.4 and 5 GHz channels. And see what happened with the channel interference. Pretty much non-existent now. There's still some very minor channel interference left. For example, in this location, we have 2 APs on channel 1 audible. So there's some minor channel interference there. And now what we could do, given that we have the latest version of ESS with the 3800, Cisco 3800 support, we could either disable the 2.4 GHz radio on some of the access points, just ensure that you have still enough coverage on 2.4. That's what many people do these days, especially for high-density Wi-Fi, disable 2.4 radios in some of the APs to actually increase the performance, not decrease it. But given that this is a 3800 access point with a flexible radio architecture, we can actually assign this AP to work on dual 5. So I'm going to put the other radio on dual 5 as well. So now we have an AP that operates, instead of channels 1 and 124, we have an AP that operates on channels 36 and 124. Just make sure that you leave that 100 megahertz gap there between the channels if you're using dual 5. So that's kind of how you do manual channel planning. Real quickly, last thing I want to show you before the Q&A is the automatic planning. So I'm going to say delete all the simulated APs. So let's make a clean new start. Everything gone. Go back to signal strength. And as you can see, there's tons of characteristics for those that haven't used the tool to analyze. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell, using the coverage area tool here, I'm going to tell the tool where do I need coverage. You can also exclude some areas as well, but I'm just going to include these areas for coverage. So the planner then knows where do I need the coverage, so it places the AP locations appropriately. Here we go. And then, instead of manually placing the APs, I'm going to use the auto planner. I'm going to say I'm going to design the network using Cisco voice guidelines. And then I'm going to say consider capacity in plan. So design the network for my high capacity requirements. For example, 500 AC laptops, 500 AC smartphones. This is what we just saw previously as well. And of course, for the smartphones and the tablets, you could also edit the applications run on them. And why we're defining this is now that the tool starts placing the APs, it kind of looks at first, makes a plan for coverage, and then if the coverage plan is not good enough for your capacity requirement, it starts, making that plan more dense so that it meets the capacity requirements as well. And what were we planning to use? 3800 here. Optimize the coverage for, let's say, 5 gig And here we go. So we're going to say create plan. And this is just the initial result of the auto planner, right? It doesn't perfectly understand the building structure. It's never perfect anyway, it's a computer, right? So it doesn't replace the Wi-Fi engineer. It does a great job at planning most often, but as a Wi-Fi engineer, you need to kind of make sure that the plan works and move the APs to the locations that actually are workable, maybe move some out of the hallways, things like that. So that's a super quick way of making a Wi-Fi design. All right, the tool also has, 1,000 other bells and whistles like, height and up tilt and directional antennas and holes in the floor and height of the walls and things like that. Not found in any other Wi-Fi planners like this. So it's a powerful tool. But that's the demo. I think it's time to move to Q&A. I'll also at the same time open reality guys, feel free to change the presenter back to you guys if you want. I understand you have a couple of slides left, at least about the ECSC. So Mikko, any common questions? So besides the Macintosh or Mac OS X, OS 10 support.
Some questions about the CAD file support, and what are the size? For example, what is the recommended size of the CAD file? I would say there's none, but
it's not the size, it's how clean it is.
That's exactly the thing. Exactly. This week I actually received a CAD file that was something like 70 megs, and it was actually from 84 error. And man, it completely killed ESS. It simply had so much details and lines that ESS couldn't handle it nicely. It just took so much time.
So by getting clean CAD drawings, we mean that, if possible from the architects, get a CAD drawing that doesn't have like a gazillion layers in it. So ESS doesn't care about the plumbing. ESS doesn't care about, the electricity drawings of the entire building. It doesn't care about the furniture. Sure, you can disable those from the background map, and you can disable those from being the walls. But still, even initially when we bring the CAD file in, we process it quite a bit. So the more you can kind of strip down, especially with huge buildings, the more you can strip it down, the better. And of course, we're optimizing this system as we go, so it will get better and better and more scalable. I'd say 98% of the CAD files already work, especially thanks to the new layout view selector that we added. But there's still some problematic CAD files, and whenever you run into them, send those to us as well, unless you're forbidden to do so, and we will learn from every single one.
Yes, send those to our tech support at ekahau.com, and
that's support at ekahau.com.
Or tweet about those. Tweet to @ekahau support.
Exactly. Support guys are now on Twitter as well. Yeah.
Surprising question about the capacity hotspots.
Oh, meaning that I want lecture halls with higher capacity, and then
exactly. I want to have 50. I want to support 50, let's say 500 devices in this lecture hall. So when is that coming?
Exactly. So right now the ESS, the capacity or the devices, the number of devices is distributed evenly across the floor plan or floor plans based on the geographical area. So capacity hotspots, when are we promising that to be out? Later this year?
Later this year. That always works. Later this year.
Exactly. Just don't hold us accountable. Absolutely no promises made. But yeah, you will be able to draw different areas for different amounts of capacity. It will be cool, and it's under development as we speak.
Guys, there's a constant question that comes up in every web demo, and I've seen it's come up in questions here today, and that's one of our customers has asked, how do they request new access points and antennas to be placed into the product?
Sure, I'll take that. So again, I would say tweet about those at Ekahau support, or send an email to support@ekahau.com. And ideally, if you have the antenna radius and patterns, send those as well, and we'll take care of those as well. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. Our guys try to find those patterns, or we just approach the vendors directly.
With your handgun.
What?
Oh, that's not how we do it. Oh, that was the old way.
Our marketing is looking at that. We're like, those are so bad. What?
That wasn't the joke. Oh, yeah, sorry. Anyways, yeah. Carlos, you have something to show still before we wrap things up. I don't want to, take all the time and not show your last slides. We can come back to the questions after the slides. But.
Yeah, no problem at all. Let's cue in Craig.
Oh, and by the way, speaking is Carlos, Open Reality's webinar master and Ekahau site survey master. So anybody who has any questions regarding the tool, especially pre-sales, how does it work, how does it compare to other tools, things like that. Carlos has done this, and we've counted 8,500,000 times. So he will certainly be the best person to answer any questions you may have.
So you personally count that, right?
Yes. I have a webcam
with your
behind
one hand.
Yeah, with my fingers I can't. Anyway.
So Matt and Steve, you like to keep me very busy with web demos, but always very happy if anybody would like to have a one-to-one session, and obviously we can really tailor what you'd like to see. Very happy to set that up. Obviously Matt and Steve will only be too happy to keep me very busy. So guys, please do feel free to get in contact if you'd like a one-to-one session after the demo today. Right, I'm going to hand across to Craig, because we've been very, very successful with some of the training courses, and I think it'd be very useful if he could just go through a little bit more of what's coming up, and just talk a little bit more about the ECSE courses we're hosting.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos. I think you mentioned this earlier in the presentation. We've been running the accredited Ekahau course for probably a couple of years now, but I think this year has been the year where it's really become popular. We historically have done one per quarter, but just due to the level of interest and demand, we just had to run more and more courses. As you can see, we ran two. Well, we're running two in June, which are now fully booked, and we put on another course date in July. The July course, if anybody's interested, is about 50% full, and we're probably looking to confirm the remaining attendees the next couple of weeks. So if there are any interested parties in the July course, please contact us as soon as possible. And then we've got subsequent courses in September and October which have a lot of availability. So there's an agenda slide PDF which we can send across, and pricing. So if you guys have already got account manager contact information, please contact those. If not, Steve and Matt are our Ekahau product managers, and I believe a lot of you guys will already know these two. So yeah, if there's any pricing inquiries or you want further information on the ECSE, please contact Steve or Matt or any of your account managers.
Fantastic. Thanks, Craig. Also, I mean, we've got the chat client, so do put your request there, and Matt and Steve will pick that up after the web demo today. Okay, Jussi, Mikko, we've got a couple of minutes. Do you want to go back to some more questions and answers? Obviously, there were a lot coming in, so there's a lot still to ask. So should we go back to that?
Absolutely. Any common denominators here?
Let me just make you presenter again, so if any questions have come up, and Mikko, if you want to pick out the first one for us.
Yeah, there's always questions, by the way, about the presentation. Still, like, will it be supplied in PDF or something, the slide?
Yeah.
So I'm sure we can supply the slides as well, right, as a part of the follow-up email. Carlos?
Absolutely, and what we can do is, obviously, for those wanting to see it after, or to share to colleagues, what we can do is maybe put it on our website and share the link as well.
Exactly, and these presentations will be also at ekahau.com/Jussi. So ekahau.com/JUSSI. You will find them there as well.
Sorry, which one was it?
ekahau.com/my name.
Okay. My name.
What's name? What's my name? Anyways, yeah. Any final questions?
Matthew is asking, are there any retry rate measurements?
Are there any retry measurements?
Yes.
Currently, no, but we are certainly looking into it.
Absolutely. Definitely something we want to do.
Watch for some awesome site survey improvements and completely new methods later in the year. So be prepared.
Again, later this year.
Yeah, quote unquote later this year. Right.
At least this year.
Yeah, this is 2018, right? Hey, there's the eternal question of, are you doing an AC USB adapter? Can't say it now, but maybe later this year. No, I'm kidding. So talk about the Wi-Fi measurement adapters. With every copy of Ekahau Site Survey, we ship the Ekahau NIC 300 adapter, and that's still by far the best adapter you can find for Wi-Fi site surveys and measurements. The reason being, it can, although it's like natively an 802.11n adapter, it can measure all the 802.11ac information, the MCSCs, the data rates, and you know, because the passive measurement is based on probes and beacons, it can pick up everything and just, you know, show AC channel widths and everything quite, you know, 100% correctly. So you get no trade-off by using that, but the the gold thing about the great thing about Ekahau NIC 300 is the measurement accuracy. Mikko actually took these devices to a lab, like different Wi-Fi adapters to a lab, and what did you find?
So I found out that the NIC 300 adapter is actually extremely accurate measurement device. So especially on the 2.4 gig band, it's the difference is like almost like 0 dBs when you actually measure against the actual signal strength. But when you're comparing the other AC adapters, those AC adapters, there's a huge difference. There's almost, the average difference was something like 10 dB, so it's huge.
So that's why we're still sticking with the NIC 300. And the other thing is, it's actually capable of measuring noise levels to some extent. Yeah. It's definitely not a spectrum analyzer, but at least it gives you, you know, the basic understanding of you know, low level, medium level, high level noise, unlike any of the other adapters that we have found. So sure, the other adapters can measure, some of them can measure noise as well, but the readings are unusable, or they get, you know, just blurred when you move a lot of traffic in the Wi-Fi network or whatever. And bear in mind, any 802.11ac or any adapter is perfect for active site surveys, throughput site surveys, things like that.
Should I also tell the Realtek secret? So we do actually support the Realtek based AC adapters, but we don't officially kind of recommend those very highly. Exactly due to the reason that the measurement accuracy is nothing compared to NIC 300 adapter.
Exactly.
So if you have, let's say, the Proxim 9100, sure you can use it, but pay attention to the measurement under the error size levels.
Exactly. Let alone that it doesn't, you know, we don't even support noise level measurements and things like that. Yeah. So keep using the Ekahau NIC 300. It's a great device for passive surveys. Use any adapter for active.
Guys, there seem to be a few questions in regards to different wall types and obviously floor types as well. So what we'll try and do after the webinar today is we'll get across the white paper that you've created in the past on how to create wall types and obviously different structures. So again, we'll try and send those around. So anybody that would like a copy of that, if you could let us know in the chat questions, and Matt and Steve will get those across to you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And the remaining chat questions we will answer as well, right? Should we again make an Excel sheet or something and kind of write the answers there and send it as a part of the follow-up email that we've done previously?
Why not? So the Open Reality guys will actually send the questions.
Absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll obviously put the most common questions and answers onto Twitter and also onto the blogs. So everybody can obviously get visibility of that. And I'm sure it will pose questions that people, for some, that haven't thought of. So hopefully we can start more dialogue.
Perfect.
Okay then, guys. Well, I think we're just coming up to the hour, so what we'll do is, if anybody would like to hang around, and obviously we're happy to open the lines on a one-to-one basis, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording.